Welcome to episode 167 of the Daniel Yours podcast, how to get shredded for summer 2024. Let's go. The t-shirt that I'm currently wearing from the NCAA March Madness Final Four was an absolute necessity for this episode because now it is a tax write-off because this is part of my job. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. If I'm wrong, don't correct me. Thanks for listening. We're going to talk about some summer fat loss strategies. Last year, I did an episode around probably the same time-ish, I believe, about 6 ways to get shredded for summer in 6 weeks. That was episode 117. And to sum up that episode, I laid out an entire plan, diet, training, supplements, all of the stuff. I don't recommend doing a crash 6-week thing, but if you're going to do it right. The best way is to do it all year round, blah, 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 all those good things. You've heard me say that a million times before, and I will always and forever stand by that. However, if you're going to do it right. So go listen to that episode 117. You find it back in the, if you just keep scrolling, maybe I'll link it in the show notes if I remember. Today, I'm going to talk about some strategies and methods that I'm seeing pop up online in some circles that are maybe a little bit trending, things that we've probably talked about before and touched on, but I want to cover them in a way that is a little bit more relevant to this year and what's going on currently and how you can use them to speed up or make fat loss a little bit easier for this upcoming summer. I know that it's going to happen. I am also going to cut a little bit more for summer as I'm kind of, continuing to cut and ahead of the wedding and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, some things that I'm doing, some things that I'm using with clients, some things that I'm seeing a lot of people using and just want to clear things up. Now, I should have got this before I hit record, but let me find it real quick. There was a post by Tim Ferriss, a tweet, and bear with me here, I'm going to find it in a second. And the post was about principles and strategies. And I saw that and I was like, wow, this is absolutely genius the way that he has said it here. And hopefully I've rambled long enough to be able to pull this up. And the tweet was, goddamn, it wasn't that long ago. Here it is. If you understand principles, you can create tactics. If you are dependent on perishable tactics, you are always at a disadvantage. Now, the reason that I wanted to start this episode with that is because the principles of fat loss, getting shredded, call it whatever you want, they will always and forever remain the same. There are effectively unlimited strategies and tactics to employ to get the results of fat loss. This is why we have so many different diets, so many different approaches, so many different quote-unquote best workouts or best in fat loss strategies or whatever, and it's because they all operate on the same principles, just using different tactics. The problem is when you only know tactics, all you know is one thing, and when one of those tactics goes wrong, doesn't work, or you can't follow it for some reason, the whole plan blows up and you have no way to go about readjusting or reconfiguring what you're doing. When you understand the principles of fat loss and muscle gain and strength training in general, you can then manipulate your life in such a way to utilize those principles to get whatever desired outcome that you want. Now, this is mostly the job of a trainer and someone like myself to understand these principles and then be able to apply them. For you, who is not a professional fitness person, what you need to understand is that there are many, many ways to get at something. And so if you think that this is the only way or XYZ is the only way, it is not. If it was, everyone would just do that and everyone would be jacked and shredded and I wouldn't exist in this context. But it's not. So, I do. So you have to understand that there are more than one way to do things. If you think that something is unachievable or you don't like it, I promise you that there's another way to do it. And when you understand those, you can manipulate things. You can make your life way easier. So we're going to talk about some different tactics to employ, how they work, why they work, and how that you can use them. The number one thing that we're going to talk about today, and these are in no order, just the order that I thought about them that wanted to talk about, is fasting. Now, I am still not a fan of, and I've done a whole episode about fasting, so I don't remember the number, but I'll put it in the show notes if you want to go back to that one. It's continuing to come up more and more as it's made somewhat of a comeback with the 3-day fasts and whatnot. Now, I think that fasting is a useful tool, especially heading into summer. The thing with summer is that there are more reasons to be outside, more reasons to move around, more reasons to take your shirt off, which makes you want to lose weight. But there are also way more social events, which comes with more drinking, more snack foods, more junky foods, more dinners out, patio nights, call it, whatever it is that's going on, work events, all those things. Not so dissimilar from like the Christmas, holiday season where there's just tons of stuff going on. So fasting fits into this because it's a way to control your intake a little bit easier for some people. For some people, this absolutely won't work. So if it's not you, then just skip this part. We know that a calorie deficit is the way to lose weight, right? That is the principle. You have heard me talk about that a million times. I'm going to try not to explain that for the nth time here today. If you have a couple of parties coming up this weekend, you have dinners out, you have a date night, you have, I don't know, whatever else that's going on, work stuff, where you know that you're going to eat a little bit more than you should, maybe drink a little bit more than you should, all that kind of stuff. Fasting can help you get around this. As an example of this, I'm recording this episode before the weekend of Greek Easter, which is like a massive feast weekend. It's the day of the year where I eat the most food. It's my absolute favorite meal of the entire year. And I know that I'm going to way overdo it on Sunday to the point where I will literally be in pain and I will enjoy every second of it. However, that's obviously not good for losing fat because I'm eating way too much. Now, what you can do with fasting is 2 ways to go about this. When you stop eating, right, if you don't eat the whole Sunday morning because you know that Sunday afternoon and evening you're going to pig out. If you know that maybe you don't eat on Saturday, you do a 24-hour fast that day, you save up, quote unquote, all of those calories for the next day. That's a strategy that is a viable way to control your calories. If you eat twice as many calories as you should on Sunday, but you had 0 on Saturday, well, you're at a net equal, and that can be okay. You can also do this where you just do it over a couple of days. So you knock down your calories, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday. So instead of doing a whole 24-hour fast on Saturday, you just eat a little less each of those days and you bank up some calories and maybe even do it on the back end as well. If you know that Sunday is going to be the big day, then you do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a little bit less. Sunday, you overdo it. Monday, you underdo it. And then you're probably somewhere closer to equal. So that is one of the big ways that it is it's a legit strategy. If it's not going to be like a massive, big celebration, but just like a dinner out that you know that you're going to kind of overdo it a little bit, then you do a single day fast. You probably don't have to do a multi-day thing to overcompensate for it. But if you're going out for dinner Friday, you can, you skip breakfast, maybe have a really light lunch, protein only for lunch, and then you kind of save you save up 2,000 calories or 1,000 calories or 1,500 calories for dinner, which you should be able to stay within that unless you're going crazy. So that's how fasting is going to help you. It's just a strategy. Now, some of the downsides of this, there is always, and this is not really like my wheelhouse, and I don't think that this affects too many of you guys who would be listening to this, but like there's always kind of the element of risk of bleeding into some sort of eating disorder with this. Like it's not a good life strategy to always try and compensate for eating too much by eating less and starving yourself or whatever. And like I'm not saying to do that. If you're the type of person who you feel like you're at that risk, then absolutely, please do not employ this strategy. But if you have a good control over yourself and you think that, you've maybe tried this in the past and it seems to work for you, or you don't seem like you're at risk of trying extreme things, like this is a very viable strategy. It's one that I use fairly often and can be pretty legit. Makes it a lot easier to stick to things and to go to these social events feeling a little bit less guilty. You get to eat, you get to enjoy yourself, and you don't have to feel like you're counting calories or feeling nervous or feeling self-conscious about eating and feeling bad for yourself, and then you feel like shit the next day. It's like, hey, I didn't eat on Friday. I went out Friday night. I did my thing, had a bunch of food, had a great time, and then I'm still on track because I'm still within my calories, like fat loss still looking good. So fasting, solid strategy, proceed with some small amount of caution. It's not magic in any way. It's just a way to control your intake a little bit more. There is absolutely zero benefit from a fat loss perspective of autophagy or whatever other science words are thrown around on the internet that people don't understand. That is not the way that it helps. All it helps is that if you stop eating, you lose weight. That's how it works. So that's, just keep that in mind. There's no magic to it other than it's a way to control your overall intake / limit your overall intake without having to count it in situations where it is difficult to do so for social and logistical technical reasons. Item number 2 here. We've talked about this before as well. I'm very big on the bandwagon of trying to increase the energy out side of the equation via more movement. And one strategy to do this is rucking. Rucking simply just means walking with a weight pack or weight vest on you. Now, I think it's a great tool to have. It's relatively inexpensive, or you could just, fill up a backpack with some old textbooks or, whatever thing weighs heavy that you can throw in a backpack. It's probably not as comfortable as like a pack that's made for that or a weight vest. Personally, I went and bought a weight vest because it's way more comfortable, and so therefore I'm actually gonna use it. It's easier to load up more weight and all that kind of stuff. Now, you're not going to be able to outwalk or out-exercise your diet. That is not going to happen, but you can influence it a little bit more. This is particularly useful for smaller people. Most women and smaller dudes, I'll say like probably under 175 pounds. I fall into that category. Right now I weigh like just under 160. Like I'm a smaller guy. The reason that it's more important for smaller people is because you just have less calories to work with. When you're cutting your calories, like, you'll see big dudes, guys who are like 215. They're cutting on, with 3,000 calories or 2,500 calories. Like that is bulking for a lot of other people. And so when you're smaller, like maybe you're already at 1,600 calories, like, and that's in a pretty big deficit. Like how much less are you going to eat? There is a non-linear relationship as to like how hungry you'll feel based on how big you are. So you can continue to drive a little bit more of a deficit, move the needle a little bit by spending more time and energy walking more. And if you can throw a pack on with a little bit of weight in it, then you can increase that energy expenditure on your walks a little bit more. So again, this is not the whole strategy. This is not the only thing you should be doing. It's in conjunction with all of the other things you should be doing. As far as prescription, doesn't really matter. We tend to get caught up on numbers of steps and amount of cardio and all this stuff. The cardio episode I did, which was not that long ago, I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 episodes ago, something like that, 162, I believe, outlines how cardio doesn't equal weight loss. Cardio is training your heart, and in doing so, you have a side effect of burning calories. Now, it's easier to do more cardio than it is to do more strength training. Like, you lift weights 4 or 5 times a week. You can't just lift weights 10 times a week. Like, you're going to have diminishing returns, injuries, whatever, but you can, ramp up your cardio quite a bit and your steps. So there's more room to do that. So this is why getting more steps in is better. Again, back to prescription that I started that little ramble with. Don't focus on the number, just focus on doing more. You're getting 5,000 steps now, get 7,000. You're getting 7,000, get 10. You're getting 10 and not seeing results, get 12. Like, do more. Do as much as you can do. The more you can do, the faster things are going to move. There's some amount of diminishing returns where you're spending way too much time on it. Like, if you're getting 25,000 steps a day, you're spending a couple of hours walking, unless you have a very active job, manual labor of some sort where you're on your feet the entire day. Like, you're just not getting 25,000 steps and you're spending 3 hours at night walking. That's probably a bad use of time, all things considered. But more is going to be better. So don't focus on the number as much as just focus on doing more, and it's going to move the needle a little bit. And if you can move the needle a little bit more by adding a little bit of weight to it and making it a ruck and making it a little bit more energy draining, then you're going to be doing yourself a favor. This, again, works much better and is probably more beneficial for smaller people. It's not less beneficial for bigger people. You'd actually have a higher calorie burn. It's just like you have more room to eat less food if that's the route that you want to go. You hit that floor of how little food you can be eating way faster when you're a smaller person. So you've got to find ways to bump up the calories outside of the equation to keep driving fat loss, especially when you're trying to do it in a hurry in a summer shred kind of context. Item number 3 is discussing alcohol. Now, there's been a big movement online, and maybe more so in the Twitter space, which, by the way, I'm enjoying Twitter way more recently. It just than Instagram. I don't know why, but it just seems a little bit more my place. But anyways, this seems to be happening more there, and I'm seeing it pop up on Instagram a little bit, but not so much. But it's people talking about removing alcohol from their life. And like, obviously, alcohol is not good for you. I don't think that is news to anyone, or it shouldn't be news to anyone. And if it is, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. One thing that confuses me with this movement is the number of people that I'm seeing that are like, oh, I stopped drinking alcohol, cut out alcohol completely, and my life changed like crazy. And I'm, so much better now. I'm so much healthier. I'm so much this. And these are seemingly people who, by their own description, were not alcoholics. So if you were an alcoholic and you completely removed alcohol, then yeah, like obviously that's going to, change your world. But these are people who are not alcoholics by their own definition and didn't have an addiction and all this stuff. And so then my question is, if removing alcohol from your life changed your life that much, like how much were you drinking before, and how did you not realize that was like an issue or something that was holding you back? It's a little bit confusing to me, and I apologize kinda if that sounds condescending, but it's just very confusing to me. Personally, I don't drink that often, so removing alcohol from my life wouldn't change anything because it's not like a thing that I'm having every day. But if you're having a couple of drinks a day, yeah, that should be quite obvious that like that's going to be a problem if you just think about calories alone. Forget all the other stuff from fat loss perspective. All of that aside, summer, more drinks, barbecue, patios, whatever, it's more social stuff. There's more drinks are going to be had on average. Again, should be no surprise that alcohol is not good for you. It is not positively contributing to your physical health in any way. It may be in some sense contributing to like your social health by allowing you to socialize and all that stuff. And that's all fine and good, but you've got to put limits on this, right? If you want to lose fat as fast as possible, like wasting, quote unquote, some of your calories, some of your limited calories on alcohol is probably just not a great use of calories. So you just decide which one you want. Do you want to have those extra couple drinks, or you want to get shredded a little bit faster? Both are fine, but you choose. I think a strategy is this. Try to limit it. Try and keep it only to the weekends. If you're having just like casual drinks on your own at home, that's probably an easy one to cut out. It's harder to cut out social drinks because there's other people involved, and conceivably like you're having fun and you're doing that for a reason, and that's fine. And those are harder to cut out. So cut out drinks that are like not social with other people. When you are with other people, pick and choose your moments. This is difficult, but there are plenty of times where people will drink because other people are drinking and because it's just a thing that people are doing, even though it's like maybe not that really fun. They don't even like the drink. They're just like doing it because other people are doing it. If you're in that boat and you find yourself in that situation, like you got to have a little bit more of a backbone, and that's when you can say no, or you stop at one. You have one, you sip it, like a baby, and make it last the whole night, and then that's it. You stop yourself at one rather than having 5 drinks that you didn't even want, that you didn't even like, in a setting with people who you didn't even enjoy, and that's fine. So if you can limit those interactions, you're going to be doing yourself a huge service by drastically limiting alcohol. The other times where you are having fun and you're going on a night, then you need to just work that into your plan. You need to understand that, hey, I'm doing this. It's not good for my fat loss, but I'm going to have fun. And so you do that. You adjust your food accordingly. Maybe you use a little bit of fasting kind of the next day and the day after on the back end to offset it a little bit. And you just accept that things are going to be a little bit slower than they would otherwise. The other side of it is one of the worst things about alcohol when it comes to fat loss and health and fitness overall is not necessarily the alcohol itself and the calories that it carries. It's all of the excess stuff afterwards. So it's the junky snack food that you're eating or munching on while you're drinking. It's the crappy pizza and junk food that you order late at night after you're drinking. It's skipping your workout the next day and ordering a greasy breakfast. It's all of those kind of extracurriculars. So if you know that, and now you do, you can get yourself a little bit ahead if you're still drinking, but not ahead, but not as far behind. If you're still drinking, but you are very aware of those extracurriculars and minimizing them as much as possible. No matter what, even if it's going to be a shit workout and you're going to feel like throwing up, the morning after you're drinking, you're in the gym, doing cardio, getting some movement in just to keep the habit. Don't let Friday night's drinks ruin Saturday's workout. Organize your scheduled workouts so that you're not putting your high rep back squats on the morning after a night of drinking. That's a bad move, but you can get in there and do some cardio, do some mobility, do something that's a little bit less intense, so that you can still keep the habit. You still keep moving things positively in the right direction. You're not ordering shit food. You're not going to have a shitty breakfast. You kind of just get right back into the groove and don't let it be a bigger bump in the road than it has to. It's not good. It's not helpful, but it doesn't have to be as big a detriment as you let it be if you kind of just do it with your eyes mostly open and try to control all of the other variables. So that's kind of the spiel on alcohol. Obviously, best practice is just remove it totally, but that's not always realistic and the most fun thing. So not saying that you should go out and be drinking. Obviously, the health advice is to not do that, but the reality is that you are. So if you're going to do it, just keep your goals in mind and keep all the extracurriculars in mind as well. Now, sticking with intake, diet, nutrition kind of stuff is another term that I picked up from Twitter is protein maxing. Before I forget to plug this quickly, I came up with a free, by the way, so it's not even that much of a plug, but free protein cheat sheet guide. And in it, I talk about, how much protein you should be getting, how to calculate it, how to go about doing that. And then it has a whole list of pretty much all of the most common, best protein sources that you would find and how much protein is in each of them. So how much protein is in 100 grams of XYZ food, chicken breast, steak, eggs, all this stuff. So I will put the link to that in the show notes. If you want it, click the link, download it, or DM me. I'll send it to you either way. But protein maxing means basically exactly what it sounds like. Trying to eat way more protein. So if you should be trying to eat way more protein anyways. You should be hitting a lot of protein. But if you center your meals around protein, and that is the first thing, when you think, what I'm going to have for lunch, don't think about I'm going to have pasta and I'm going to have a salad and then, I guess I have some chicken. It's no. What is the protein-centric thing in the meal? I'm going to have chicken and then, there's a little bit of pasta and I guess I'll have a salad with that as well. Great. When you load up on protein, you are so much more likely to not overeat on the other stuff. And the makeup of your carbs and your fats, like the split of them matters. Basically, it doesn't matter as long as your overall calories are in check. But if you load up on protein, you're going to feel fuller for longer. You're going to support your muscle mass more. So as you're cutting down, as you're losing weight, as you're losing a little bit of energy, you're more likely to be able to keep, and maybe even if you're a little bit more of a beginner, still build muscle while in a deficit and losing weight. Hitting more protein is going to help every single aspect of the way that you feel and make it easier to stick to your diet. One truth And something that we just have to admit is that when we're dieting and when we're doing so in a little bit more of like a hardcore, fast kind of way for summer, you're going to be hungry. It's going to be hard. So you want to do things to minimize that as much as possible. Filling yourself up on protein is the best way to do that. So protein maxing. Think protein first at every meal. Try and get 30, 40, 50 grams per meal and think about that first. No meals without protein is a really good strategy to go about this. And again, you can get the protein guide, and that's going to help you pick and choose different things and find ways to sneak protein into every meal if it's not already the centerpiece of what you're doing. I mean, a lot of these things are things that you should be doing anyways, but when we're getting really tight and when we're getting really trying to make results really fast, all of these things matter a little bit more. Everything just becomes a little bit more important, and it becomes a little bit more, or you have rather a little bit less room for error because you're trying to get a result in 6 weeks, not 6 months. 6 months, you can kind of, you take things slow and you miss a couple of days of protein here and there. Not ideal, but not making that much of a difference. If you've only got 6 weeks, you miss a couple of days, like that's a large percentage of the time that you're giving yourself. So you're doing yourself a pretty big disservice by not doing it. Again, it's making your life way easier if you are protein maxing, hitting as much protein as you can each meal, and making sure that you're absolutely smashing your daily protein intake goals. So do that. It's going to make yourself feel better, make your results a little bit faster, and overall, you'll just be more jacked and shredded. And I think that's all with that. I mean, there's not much to say. Just like eat more protein and make it more centric in your meals, central to your meals. The last piece that I will discuss on these strategies and methods is embracing shorter workouts so that you don't have what we're going to call 0 days. A 0 day is a day where you don't work out at all, you don't lift, you don't do dedicated cardio, you didn't get steps in, you didn't stretch, and we'll just keep it at this training side of things for now. Again, when you're only giving yourself 6 weeks, 8 weeks to kind of get shredded for summer, get into vacation shape, beach shape, whatever, you don't have that much room for error. So taking a day off matters a lot more than when you're giving yourself 6 months or a year to get in shape for something. Things are still busy, you're still working, you're still doing your thing. Now, you can't be in the gym for 2 hours every day. I understand that. Almost no one can do that. But just because you can't get a quote-unquote full workout in of an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours, it doesn't mean that you just scrap it all together. 30-minute workouts, 20-minute workouts are great. We're still moving the needle forward. We are still keeping the consistency habit going. We're still stoking that fire every single day. And this is a great way to embrace keeping that habit going. So I referred to this earlier, right? You have a night of drinking. Just because you had that, don't let it knock you off track. Like get in the gym, do some stretching, do some light cardio, do some arms, some less intense kind of stuff, and get it done. You don't save your biggest workouts for those days. On the days where you know that you're only gonna have 30 minutes or 25 minutes to work out, like don't go and try and set a back squat PR or deadlift PR or bench PR. Like you need some more time for those maybe, but you can get something in. So embrace short workouts. The other thing that comes with short workouts and not having 0 days, even if it's just do anything to not have a 0 day, any amount of exercise, walking, whatever. This is again where the rucking comes back in, but I interrupted my own self there. That's hilarious when you're doing a solo podcast and you're trying to think about so many things at once and you interrupt your own self. Another thing to embrace with short workouts is the factor of intensity. Intensity, mechanical tension, and just how hard you're training is it is definitely more important than the amount of time that you spend in the gym. You can spend an hour and a half in the gym and not do fuck all. And that didn't get you any further ahead than the guy who came in 20 minutes, ripped a significantly hard workout, and actually did something useful for his muscles and for his cardio. So sometimes the shorter workouts, something psychologically, that's like, hey, I've only got 25, 30 minutes to do this. I'm going to go in, I'm going to rip it, not going to look at my phone, not going to make sure I'm not checking emails, make sure I'm not, getting stuck in conversations with guys in the gym or whatever. Like, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to rip it, and then I'm going to get out. And sometimes that makes it way more intense. And when you can be more intense, you can also be more intentional with what you're doing. So you're going to get like a better pump because you're actually focusing on your back, you're focusing on your quads, you're focusing on your triceps, like whatever it is, you're really ripping into those muscles, and you're just going to get a more intense and therefore more beneficial workout overall. So don't ever conflate the length of a workout with the effectiveness of a workout. There is a point of diminishing returns where the workout is just far too long, and there is no way you are operating at even remotely close to enough intensity that you're really just wasting time and maybe making it more likely to get injured, versus getting in the gym, following the program that you should be following, getting your work in, hitting it hard and heavy and fast, and then getting out. So don't discount short workouts. One of my, he's up there, but one of my more successful online clients right now does this and has been doing this for a while. And I feel like I've talked about it before on the podcast, but it's like he's kind of only got like 30 minutes a day to work out. He can commit to every day, but only 30 minutes. And so he gets in there, rips it, and gets out, and he's having very, very, very good success with that. And that works for him. That might not work for everyone, but if it works for you, then it works for you because you're busy, you've got things going on. It doesn't even have to be every day. Like, some of your workouts can be shorter than others. If you're just doing an arms workout, there's no reason that your biceps and triceps workout needs to take as long as your leg workout does. There's no reason that your ab routine needs to take as long as your back routine. Like, that's okay. And so if you know that on Tuesdays you're slammed on Tuesdays, you've got, back-to-back standing meetings, and this client needs you and that thing needs you, and you got to be here, and whatever the case is for you, well, that's the day for your short workout. And you stick it in there. It's 20 minutes long. Get in, rip it, and you save your longer, more intense, maybe more demanding workouts for days where you have more time. But the good news is you're keeping the ball rolling with that, and don't ever think that you are shortchanging yourself or that it's not worth it or not effective or not enough in some way. Like, short workouts are effective, and in some cases they can actually be way more effective. So the take-home message from that is, like, lean into that. Don't underestimate them. Use them if you find that time is a big factor for you all the time or certain days of the week. But use your short workouts, and definitely do not have any 0 days. Even a 10-minute walk makes it not a 0 day, but don't go to bed not having done anything, especially if you're in this scenario where you want things to be happening quickly. You're getting ready for vacation, for a wedding, for a whatever, just getting ready to go on dates in the summer, whatever the thing is that you're getting ready for. You want it to happen fast, you can't have 0 days. You got to put in the effort, and that's that. So to quickly recap what we went over today, using fasting as a strategy to offset and do some damage control with social eating, rucking and upping your movement and your step count intentionally, especially for smaller people, to increase the calories outside of the equation. Alcohol limiting and not giving in to drinking just because other people are drinking and it's the thing that people are doing. Drinking when you know that is going to be increasing your experience or enhancing the amount of fun that you're having or whatever, but do it with your eyes open and pay attention to the extracurriculars as far as food, laziness, skipping other activities that come along with drinking. Protein maxing was number 4. Protein maxing is eat as much protein as you can, fill yourself up on protein, and make protein the center of all of your meals. What protein are we having? And then what else are we having with that, rather than the other way around? And lastly was implementing short workouts, not having 0 days. Get in the gym, do it intense, get in, let it rip, and get out. You don't need to spend more time there. Better is better. More is not better. Better is better. And that's the way to sum that up. So thank you for listening. Good luck with the summer cut. Always hit me up if you have questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, coaching, all that stuff. I am looking to take on a couple more clients coming up in this summer. Summer's always a weird time because people are often doing stuff. So I'll have a little bit more time probably to spend with you. But yeah, it should be a good time. So if you're looking for coaching, you're looking to get in best shape ever, you want to get jacked and shredded, now's the time. Hit me up on Instagram, on Twitter, on email. You know how to find me by now. The link for that protein cheat sheet will be in the show notes. And if you can't find it for some reason, just DM me. I will get it to you. But download that. It's free. It'll help you an absolute ton. And that's that. The podcast is crushing lately, guys. You guys are doing amazing. So I appreciate you guys sharing this with your friends, continuing to listen, continuing to leave ratings and reviews and little things like that. It really goes a long way. We're hitting charts in countries all over the world, and things are looking good. So we keep it rolling. We keep doing good content. We keep helping as much as you can. I keep saying we, but it's like a one-man show. So I keep doing this, and you keep getting better, more jacked and shredded, and you will be the most jacked and shredded podcast audience that exists out there. Appreciate you. Love you. Have a good one. See you soon. Go outside. Be a good person. And then I'll see you next time. We got to end it right.